because I'm getting ready to talk about the plot. Every ninth word! Oh! So welcome to the Impossible Podcast. We're coming to you live from the Impossible Planet, the Satan Pit. You can't see, but we're actually on the space base right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Doctor Who made an episode about a planet full of incel. That's like the tagline that was used. It's a planet influenced by incel culture.
It was a good episode, not because you can rate episodes of Doctor Who as like the pinnacle of creation of anything. In terms of just how we experience Doctor Who, this had a lot in it that we had to talk about. And that, I feel for me, that's a good episode.
What makes a good episode of Doctor Who is discussing the themes, discussing the production, you know, going into depth about how dumb it is, how fun it is. That's good Doctor Who. We're explaining the plot for anyone who hasn't seen the episode. And if you have seen the episode, you can skip where we just go through the plot. This is just for anyone who's like, what the fuck, did Doctor Who do an incel episode? I need to know what's going on. So imagine you're a nurse, you're just a regular girl. You're on a date with a boy who's like, oh my God, I'm looking out at the stars and this destiny, this moment is so important to me. You're the nurse, you're clearly like not as into this guy as he is into you. He pulls out a diploma for a star that he has bought. He's named the star Miss Belinda Chandra. And she's like, Miss? And then he says, yeah, are you married? And he's like, do you even like the present? And she's like, yeah, I love it. It's the best present anyone's ever given to me. And they have a really awkward kiss. So Belinda, right, she's a nurse, she's a regular gal, she's at work, she's going from patient to patient. A doctor is looking for her, but it's not just any doctor, it's the doctor, trying to get Miss Belinda. So we cut back to Belinda, she's at home, she's looking into a smelly, moldy fridge, whatever. She goes to bed, suddenly, boom, giant robot in her house. Tells her, you are Miss Belinda Chandra and you are the queen of our planet and we're gonna kidnap you because you need to come rule our planet. So they get beamed up into this ship and on the trip there's a schwump. It's a time wibbly wobbly thing. So when she's in the ship she's like, it was Alan Bud, like go get him, it wasn't me. And so they land on this huge planet and she introduces herself as Sasha 55 and she's like, welcome to Miss Belinda Chandra, you are the queen of this planet. We obey our robot overlords. She goes on her like politically correct spiel. She just looks her in the eyes and says really quietly, please help us. And that's like the first reveal, the first plot twist that kind of sends us spinning that, oh my God, the robots are in charge of this planet, not the people. So very hectic intro, a lot of introductions, a lot of plot. And then the rest of the plot of the episode is basically that she's brought into this throne room and there are people lined up. And one of them is the doctor, and he's wearing the same clothes as the people of this planet. And in here, the robots tell her that she has to get married to the AI generator. And they show the AI generator on like a screen. And he's like, we're gonna get united in flesh and machine. And they actually show her turning into like a robot thing. So she's like, what is going on? Like, I don't want this. Then Sasha 55, she's like, maybe our historian can shed some more light on the situation. Obviously, the historian who steps forward is the doctor. And he starts talking very strangely. Every now and then he throws in a word that is different from the others. And every word that sticks out kind of comes together to form a sentence. Robots faulty can't hear every ninth word. The doctor kind of tells through this coded way of speaking, which is very psychologically taxing for the viewer, like that the rebels are here and they're going to attack very soon to free her. He goes, no! And then there's a big rebel fight. They kill Sasha 55 and only 17 minutes in, the doctor starts crying. Doctor tells her that like, I came here 6 months ago. I've been working my way up to become an historian and I got to know Sasha to be able to speak with you and putting a lot of pressure on Belinda. When he's telling her this, she's like, what the fuck? You followed me? Kind of planting the seed that she doesn't really trust the doctor. And the doctor tells her that the AI generator has an exact copy of the diploma that she brought from Earth. It's not an exact copy though, it's actually the identical diploma. Like, it's the same diploma, it just exists twice because of timey-wimey stuff. Belinda gets taken to like a refugee camp where she gets to show off some of her nurse skills, and then there's a guy there who's like, this is all your fault, you're as bad as the robots. So she's like, it's not my fault. But eventually she does decide that it is her fault. This little robot which polishes the path in front of her, they have to turn it off so as to not have the AI generator be cued into their location. Because this polish guy is kind of like a pet. But Belinda, she turns on the robot and she's like, take me there. I'm gonna marry this guy. I'm gonna marry this AI generator to save everyone. They take her to the AI generator. She's like, remember me for my sacrifice. And he's like, we will remember you, Miss Belinda Chandra. And she's like, drop them, miss. Like, I don't want them, miss. And then when she says that, the AI generator suspiciously says, are you married? Which, if you have paid attention, is exactly what Alan said in the very first scene. So she's like, what? Al? The generator opens. It was Al. It wasn't AI. It was Al. Belinda's like, oh my god, it was me. In the time swamp, I was telling them to get you instead. The plot twist was like effective. Like, in my opinion, I didn't see it coming. And we get a cutscene back where we see that the robots came for him. Because when Al gets kidnapped, he's sitting gaming, it's kind of implied that he's this unfeeling gaming guy who's really obsessed with control. 10 years ago, when he landed on Miss Belinda Chandra, the planet, he was like, is this a planet just for me? Like, I could just gamify this whole planet. And he sees the whole thing like a video game.
So editing Vendela here, the way we explain the plot here becomes very muddy, so I'm just deciding to re-record it. He hooks himself up to a computer, which becomes the AI generator. They cover up the fact that his name is Al and becomes AI. When he becomes hooked up to the computer, he loses his own will. Like, he becomes influenced by all the other robots, except for every ninth word. Every ninth word is his own to think. And through this every 9-word dialogue that he can keep with Belinda, he tells us that he is in fact in pain and this was a mistake. But he still thinks that Belle is his. And this is where Belle says that, oh, so this is like a planet of incels because he is an incel to her, kidnapping her. He wants to control this person to be with him. And that will is controlling this whole planet. Because of the time travel, he now also has the contract. Because of the contract she's holding, which is the younger version of the same contract that Al is holding, he seems to realize, like, touching these contracts to each other, they're both going to die, and he seems to be willing to take them both down. So he's like regretful, but also he's ready to take her with him. And so they touch the contract. There is a big time explosion. It happens sometimes when two of the same thing but from different parts of a timeline are in the same part of a timeline. And because the Doctor is a Time Lord, he jumps up and he absorbs the energy, saves Belinda, but he just lets Al die, essentially. When they come out of the explosion, the Doctor tells her that, I've seen your whole life, we go way back now, like, I know you. And Bella is a bit apprehensive, like, but I don't know who you are. So she asks the Doctor, can we go home? And the Doctor actually takes her into the TARDIS.
And in the TARDIS, he looks at her and he's like, this is destiny, because I've met you before. I've met Mundy Flynn. And he tells her that, like, I've been to the future. I travel in time, I've been to the future, I've met your descendant. And she's like, did she look like me? And he's like, yeah, you look identical. And I also tested your DNA, and you are an identical match. And she's like, hold up, you tested my DNA without my consent. She also points out that you might think that we're connected through destiny, but Sasha trusted you, and Sasha died. You're dangerous. The Doctor kind of pulls back and apologizes, but Belinda does not buy his bullshit. She's like, take me home, please do the right thing. And I think this moment really stuck with me as like a very good introductory episode where you kind of see the Doctor from Belinda's point of view, where you're like, this man is scary. Like, you were just abducted by alien robots and taken to another planet against your will. And then this other alien, you're supposed to trust him with your life, to take you home again. And he's like going on a schizophrenic rant about how we're connected by destiny and I've been through your whole life and I have a time machine, let's go travel the universe. And she's like, I don't want to be your adventure. The very end of the episode is just that they try to land. Obviously the TARDIS doesn't work because it never fucking works. They can't get to this date. He's like, we gotta take the long way around. And we see these floating pieces of Earth. We see a floating car and half of the Statue of Liberty. And it's kind of implied that something is going on. Something for the rest of the season is a bit fluffed. It's a bit fluffed. So, Vendela, do you want to just quickly go through your first impressions?
My first impressions, I'm gonna try and not be super annoying with my crinkly notes. I had chills for several parts of this episode. I think 4 times specifically where I was like, this has really sucked me in, and it's you use the words like it's sticky and it's tactile, and I really loved that description of it. But I think it comes so much from the visuals and the audio, the world building, but definitely also the directing, and the Marigold soundtrack it just carries the plot with us for the whole time. Yep.
The music, so good, so good.
No, yes, and it's carrying us through this plot throughout the whole episode. Please think about the audio. They nailed that shit. They logged in for sure. Opening sequence as well. It's very long, but if you think about the way the audio goes, it's like a whole story in and of itself, and it becomes really easy to follow. I think the information we have to take in, that part is so helped by the audio, I feel.
Totally. And I think that just as you are praising the soundtrack, I think we need to praise not only Murray Gold, but also Russell T Davies. Both of them have returned to Doctor Who, showing that during the time they were away, they have not been sitting idly. They have improved and honed their skills, and they're coming back with a much more complex, layered, and confident display of their skills, both as writers, as visionaries for the show.
And I feel the whole last season now, all of season 14 feels kind of rushed seeing this. This just feels so much more lived in, and I can just breathe out and feel like, yeah, we're in safe hands.
I agree. I think that this episode just shows a different level of, it's almost like they needed the first season to warm up. The team, the actors, the directors, like everyone involved on the project needed the first season to just warm up. And then this episode was just an excellent display from start to finish of like everything working, in my opinion. Like maybe it's not your favorite episode, but you have to admit that the production is there. It looks excellent. It sounds excellent. And Russell T Davies is also really confident at writing this new Doctor. Ncuti Gatwa feels so lived in as this character. We'll elaborate on his performance later.
And the way we're carried into this new season with an episode that I can only describe it as an episode that I feel comfortable showing to someone who has never seen Doctor Who before. Maybe they won't get all the references, and maybe I feel like maybe that's good because I'm sitting here thinking of like, ooh, the Martha references and all of that, and maybe that kind of ruins it a little bit. I feel like you can definitely watch this with fresh eyes and still feel the gravity of the plot and the storyline and all of that. I feel like it actually carries you through everything that's going on.
Yeah, I think every time Doctor Who brings back a writer, you kind of get to see the writer's central themes that really matter to them over and over again. And I think where Moffat wrote a lot about hot 60 women from London who are really, really special and who are obsessed with the Doctor and who have lived with him or who have been obsessed with him from the beginning of time to the end. Russell T Davies has this tenderness and this appreciation for the ordinary. He loves taking an ordinary, strong character who lives through life, this shit life, this normal life, and who is confronted with greatness, who is confronted with the universe and is like, I don't think I want this. This is scary, this is too much. Some characters are really hungry for that adventure, like Rose, and some characters are more like this, like Donna, in the Ood episode, Planet of the Ood, where she's like, I thought traveling with you would be amazing. I hate this. This is terrifying. This is scary. And I think Belinda is sort of a combination of that Donna sass with the Martha authenticity, the Martha empathy. This like, I'm a med student, I'm a nurse, I am grounded in reality. She's a real character.
And I felt I had a lot of these references to different things we've seen in Doctor Who before. I feel like this is a big web of subverting those plot lines, even with Belinda's first reaction to the TARDIS. Oh, this is the TARDIS, and then she says like, this is mad, and then he says it's bigger on the inside, and she's like, yeah. Instead of her saying it, there's a lot of these small nuggets of subverting those things. And also, I cannot conclude my first impression of this episode without saying that they wrote in a character, right? It's just goofy, it's not cringe, it's just because there's so much going on, and we need this little comedic just nuance. And we have this lovely fella, Scoot. His name is Scoot. I think that is so adorable. And he comes in and says, polish, 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 polish. I have to say, I just love him an irrational amount. He is so cute. He really works in this episode, and I can't describe why. And I know we had in the Mpreg episode with the alien. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Like, we were supposed to like that guy, and I was not really buying it, and I really see how that type of character can become annoying. I feel really in secure hands seeing that this little guy is actually landing the right way, like the way he's supposed to. I love Scoot.
I think it's an excellent point. I feel like Russell T Davies really understands the essence of Doctor Who. You know how like in Star Wars there are these little alien comic relief characters all the time? I think Doctor Who doesn't always do that. I mean, I think of like what's a cute robot character? Obviously we have K9, who I thought of immediately when I saw the little Polish guy. We have the Cyberman rats, like those little rat guys that were running around. Not necessarily good. Like, I don't think I liked that episode or those little rat guys, but like, it is an aesthetic nod to past Doctor Who episodes, and it really shows that Russell T Davies is cued in to the vibes. And just like you said, the way he confidently bakes in this ridiculous character who is basically like a little dog that the Doctor kisses on the forehead is like, it's those little things really makes Doctor Who. It makes the world feel lived in, it's breathable, it's tactile, it has character, where the previous season could sometimes feel a little bit hollow and a little bit aesthetics only. Like, I'm thinking Rogue, for example. Beautiful episode, but it didn't feel super lived in, like they didn't really explore the space. This episode feels really like every individual aspect matters, and the Polish scout robot is an excellent example.
I think it's the perfect storm of everything else worked out, and that's why Scoot works too.
Because he's not the only thing you remember about the episode if you're a normal person, but if you're us, he is the only thing we remember about the episode and the only thing we care about, and we want him back. Like, we want him to be a regular on the show.
Yeah, on the rewatch, it's the only thing I can carry with me. I just love this guy, you know? Yeah, for sure. He's a second watch kind of favorite character for me.
Yeah, it's a heavy episode thematically, but the delivery is so funny. And I think that particular visual gag is another thing that kind of brings us back into the narrative of Doctor Who, like the greater New Who narrative. Like, it creates a through line, because how many times has the Doctor not landed on a planet and then something gone wrong and him losing his TARDIS? Like, it's such a classic Doctor Who thing. So I really appreciate that inclusion. It was a super funny gag, and it really makes me feel like I'm watching Doctor Who. And just like you have been pointing out throughout your first impressions, it makes you feel like you're in safe hands. Like, this is someone who knows the show and who likes writing Doctor Who.
And I'm gonna also add to that, there are these elements with the cutback scenes that can be really cheap. We have this character that is he just feels merchandisable. and we have these plot holes, honestly, the way we talk in the introduction, like, who is Al really? Why is he an AI? There are so many questions within the plot of what is this robot revolution? Why is there 10-year gap? Like,
I think a running theme through the episode is that they just throw in a lot of visual gags that pull the episode over the top, and I love it. The Doctor causes an electric outage for this. It's like, look over there! And then he uses his sonic screwdriver and literally blacks out an entire hospital, probably killing around 30 people at least, you know? It's a funny gag. I saw some people on Reddit being like, they glossed over that pretty fucking quickly. Like
there's a lot of things that make the episode, like, it could feel really cheap, and we've discussed this a lot previously, that if an episode is bad, the plot holes will seem like the reason for it being bad, but when it's good, actually, there are just the same amount of plot holes, but it feels good, so you don't care about it. And this is one of those episodes where I don't care about that, for sure.
100%.
I think we have to discuss the plot holes, but all in all, I don't care about them whatsoever.
No, me neither. I think that Russell T Davies, that is how he writes. He writes with a soft magic system implied. He doesn't care about ironing out all the plot details. He doesn't care about making sure everything sticks together cleanly from a timeline cause and effect perspective. It kind of reminds me of 73 Yards, which is a masterpiece in storytelling, where it's like you as a viewer are supposed to intuit that this is some sort of time loop, but he doesn't have to explain it to you. He doesn't have to go from start to finish in the same way that I feel like Moffat cleanly ties together all of his time loops. Russell T Davies is not interested in that because he has more of a soft magic approach, a soft magic system approach to Doctor Who. He's really inclined.
It feels like a time loop. We're never told it's a time loop.
And also, he allows you to intuit the existence of a time loop without saying it. And the paradoxes are so in your face. Like, if you actually think about it, you're like, so the diploma got sent back in the swoop.
Yeah.
And in order for the diploma to go back, Belinda had to already be kidnapped. But if Belinda never was kidnapped, the diploma would have never gotten sent back.
Did you notice that we never delivered the diploma?
We never saw him deliver the diploma. That's another thing. So
that's still to happen within the season.
Yeah. So that must be something that must be a plotline that they're going to tie back, that they're going to come back to at the end of the season, which is something Russell T Davies likes to do. But what I was going to come to was that Russell T Davies loves leaving things unanswered, and that can be really annoying. Like with the previous season, and also with the 60th specials, how we have so many mystery box reveals that aren't revealed. It can be frustrating, but when he does it well, he really just eases your mind. He's like, don't worry about it. Listen, it works. And I'm telling you, it works. This is the story. This is the vibe. The only thing you need to care about is the emotion of the characters and what this story meant for them. It's the same with 73 Yards. It's like the paradoxes, like if you actually think about it, they're so annoying. But if you just let go of that and if you just enjoy it, you're gonna have such a good time with his writing. So me personally, the paradoxes, I don't care. I think it's Doctor Who. I think it's funny. Doctor Who has never had a sensical timeline. It's always been like this. So what are our thoughts on the hectic opening scene? We've already touched on it, but like, as a first impression for a viewer, like, how do you think it's going to read?
With the opening sequence and the kidnapping up until that point.
Like, imagine you're on Disney Plus and you're like, oh, what's this show? I guess I'll watch the new episode that came out, and this is the first thing they see. Alternatively, you're showing it to a friend. Like, how do you think this first like the initial sequence is going to read.
One thing I really like about this, you highlighted the fact that it's really ballsy to have an off-world first episode. I feel like it's such a great jumping into the story, because I've had that feeling with basically any like first introduction to a companion, that we're always on planet Earth. And like, I feel like for my friends who I try to force to watch Doctor Who with me, it also feels a bit empty when they do that. It's like this sci-fi show and they go into places in outer space, and it's like, but they're just on Earth. So I think it was really nice to just actually get into it immediately. And it's also one of those points where I feel like we're subverting the usual Doctor Who meta.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, that like, if we look at season 1 of New Who, for instance, they basically never leave the solar system. They just jump around in time. And I think that it speaks to the budget, and also that the showrunners or the team behind Doctor Who now, they kind of understand what Doctor Who fans like to see. A current day episode is not always very fun. And I think that it's a very bold move to take a character to a different planet immediately, but it really kicks you into gear. It really gives you a feel for the show. And I think that Russell T Davies is trying to cater these initial episodes to new fans in a way. He's trying to show the scope of the show in a really good way. Like, remember when Ruby steps on a butterfly?
Especially with these like shorter seasons, like fewer episodes per season.
Exactly. He's using the budget cleverly, in my opinion. He's smashing a lot of things into one episode in order to show, like, pitch the episode to new viewers. And I'm not sure how that's going to reflect in actual new fans coming in, because there are a lot of logistical problems with that. Like when the episode airs and the fact that it's on Disney Plus and da-da-da-da-da. But if we actually think about what Russell T Davies is doing as a writer, like if we think of when Ruby stepped on the butterfly and turns into an alien, and how he takes her to like a dinosaur planet just to show that like this is a time machine, we can travel in space, we can do this, we can do that. Like, he's pitching the show, and I think a first episode needs to do that. And I think that this initial sequence is good at that. Like, I think it's really pitching the show, and I think it's such a clever idea for a first episode and for a character introduction. Like, if you actually think about what this episode accomplishes, it sets up Belinda in a really economical way. We get to see who she is immediately, and it also sets up the mechanisms of the show. It is not only time travel, it's space travel. We go to different planets, we see different beings, we see robots. Like, I think he incorporates the essence of Doctor Who really well in this episode.
They did this really smart thing with the opening sequence being so massive, having all of that on planet Earth, and then we move on to outer space after the opening sequence. Is that what they did?
No, but they are on the different planet before the title
They do
cut.
that, okay.
Yeah.
Like, a massive chunk of them being on planet Earth is included in this opening, and it eases us into the story, I feel. And it's the way they're operating the robots, the subtle sounds whenever like any joints are moving around. It's really, it really feels like it's a sci-fi show. It's not just cheap sci-fi, but like actually real sci-fi. Like, I feel like that's really good for a new audience. And especially I love this little part where the robot takes up the diploma, he sucks his hand to it, and you can hear this when he grabs it. I loved that. Also, the effect they use for the cat being killed, I have to reference that too, because it's so clever to not show the dead thing, but it looks really good. Like, the budget wise, like the CGI, it could have been so much worse. They really nailed the visuals of that.
I think everything in the episode looks amazing. I think this CGI is amazing, and I think they used the CGI budget pretty sparingly. They managed to communicate an entire planet without actually having to show an entire planet. Like, essentially, when they're outside they just have like a green screen on the sides, like I would imagine, and you can kind of see the scope of the whole planet by just showing robot killing machines out in the distance, and they manage to communicate a whole war. And I think that shows it shows that they've been using their budget really effectively to communicate this enormous scope without having to have like a Star Wars budget or a Dune budget, you know? Like they don't actually need to show an entire planet to communicate everything that needs to be communicated, which is very Doctor Who, like it's very clever. Okay, so about Belinda, like I think I've already shared my thoughts about her continuously, but I think that she's a classic RTD companion. Like she's grounded, she's sassy, she has her own opinions, and I think that she's really tested throughout this episode. Like if we go all the way to the end, like I wanted to discuss her sacrifice, and I think we already talked about how like she really shows her depth as a character, her bravery, all the things that we love in a companion. She's grounded, she's human, she is brave enough to show her distaste towards the Doctor and the things that he does that she doesn't like. There's this line where she says, typical Doctor letting the nurses do all the hard work or something like that. And I think it's such a clever way to set up a dynamic between the Doctor and Belinda that like, yeah, he's a doctor, she's a nurse, and they are still equals. She can still put him in his place, and I think that's clever. I really like that addition, and I think she's going to be great. I love the actress. She's so pretty. She's such a good actress. I think I'm going to love her throughout the rest of the season.
The parallels to Martha Jones, and I with that, then I'm the nurse line. I thought about when Martha is first introduced to the Doctor, he says, I'm the Doctor, and she says that something like, and so will I be if I pass my exams. RTD has a lot of respect for nurses, I feel. Like, that's the meta of this whole, like, the parallels. Like, he has a lot of respect for nurses. They're working their hardest, you know?
And he tends to pick people that are respectable. Even Donna, who's just a temp, you know, like he puts a lot of respect on her name. And Belinda might be a nurse, like she might do a really important job, but she's still an ordinary person. And he really is good at highlighting the strengths in ordinary people. And I think that this episode really shows range in her. She manages to be strong and sassy, but she also shows vulnerability. So I think that it's great.
I love that she has really clear boundaries of like, take me home.
Yeah. And that's really, I think, as a woman, you're really happy watching an RTD version of Doctor Who, and you're quite unhappy watching a Moffat version of Doctor Who.
It's kind of cringe being like, oh, here we are, these white girls watching this show written by predominantly white writers. Like,
as a woman.
Yeah, as a woman, actually, maybe I should not be watching Doctor Who. Sometimes I feel that way, but RTD, he doesn't make me feel that way, so it's awesome.
He does not.
Yeah.
He makes you feel proud to watch the show as a woman, I would say. Now, what do we think of Ncutis as the Doctor in this season? Oh my God, he's amazing. He has range. He's just such a great actor. I remember when he was announced as the Doctor that both you and I watched Sex Ed again and try to really invest ourselves in his acting style. And I think that he is natural in his acting. Like, he has a natural acting style. He doesn't act super over the top. He's not as controlled as, say, Matt Smith or David Tennant is in his delivery. Like Matt Smith, for instance, his strength as an actor is really his enunciation, the way he dances around the lines. And I think Ncutis is a lot more natural in his line delivery. And I think that lends itself well to this character that's supposed to be otherworldly and alien and fantastic, but also at the same time a real individual, a real being with two beating hearts, who has biases and who has faults. And I think that he shows vulnerability and he manages to be fun and alien at the same time. Like, I think something that he did both in Sex Ed and that he does really well as the Doctor is that he carries the really rough emotional scenes in a very light way. Like, he can hold the sorrow, he can hold those deep emotions at the same time as he can laugh. And he has a depth to his delivery that I think is so well suited to this character. And having to say goodbye to him for the rest of the seasons, like him leaving the project, is a tragedy. I think he's amazing in the role, and I wish we could have had him for a really long time.
Yeah, I feel I actually was reading a little bit, and it doesn't seem like it's for sure like announced that he's gonna be leaving, but like it seems to be. It just seemed very unclear, and all the like, ooh, it's being cancelled, and like it's also very like mostly based off of the fact that Disney has a tendency to ruin shows, you know?
Yeah. And I think Doctor Who has always been on thin ice. Like, there's never been a time where people have not been speculating about the show being cancelled. What makes the live experience so fun, and what makes being a fan up to date with current day Doctor Who so fun, is that thought that this show might die at any second.
Imminent cancellation since 63.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the engagement that brings and the joy it brings in the fans is very special. At least I feel that as a fan, that like when I was younger and I was watching Doctor Who, it felt like it would be around forever. And I think the older you get, the more tuned in you get to the going-ons behind the scenes. You're like, shit, like this show might be dead at any time. I think we all just have to have this irrational hope that it will go on forever. I think Doctor Who fan 91 also pointed that out, that I think next year the new Who will have been going for 26 years, and 26 years is also the amount of time that original Doctor Who was on air. So it would be fun if we could. It would be fun if we could reach that same milestone.
No, I was actually gonna reference with the things you were saying about Ncutis acting, the way that Matt Smith is with his words, with enunciating and delivering like these massive speeches, the same way Ncutis is with emotions. He can just enunciate all the emotions at the same time, just through body language, and it's beautiful. I just love him and the role, and it was really smart of RTD to cast him with the thought in mind that this is the feeling Doctor, the emotionally intelligent Doctor.
Definitely, I think he really pulls that off. Like, I know it's a joke that he cries in every episode, but I think it's nice. Like, it's not this super special melodramatic moment when the Doctor actually feels something and he actually cries. I think Ncutis is one of the first Doctors, apart from Jodie Whittaker, that I feel like could just be a normal person, like that are burdened by, because I feel like this is the way the Doctor has been characterized in the new rendition of the show, that he is burdened by the greatness. He's burdened by the fact that he's immortal. He's burdened by the fact that he's a Time Lord. And I think Jodie really had that, like, I'm just a normal person who wants to live my life and spend time with my friends and have a fun time, and then I have all of this other shit from my past that's affecting me and polluting me and like haunting me.
And like I have to keep people safe from me.
Exactly. And I think that Ncutis is relieved of some of that pressure. He's relieved of some of that heaviness. In the process, he, like, not him as an actor, but his rendition of the character, sometimes forgets that he is an immortal being, and that having an immortal being, this outer-worldly alien character tell you that I've been sifting through your entire life. Like, because I think that he is incredibly empathetic and incredibly feeling and really understands normal living life forms like humans. Sometimes he forgets though, and I think that's clever. And at the same time, I think this episode illustrates that sometimes the Doctor forgets that he can be scary, that he can be dangerous, and that what he brings into someone's life is not always fun. That's another thing that Russell T Davies really highlights. Like, Martha is an excellent example of like her life gets so fucked because of because of the Doctor and what he brings. It's not only adventures, it's also pain and loss and confusion, being abducted in the middle of the night.
I feel like some of the previous Doctors, or most of the previous Doctors, have this like, oh, he's alien, he's super smart, and that's why he can like bring all of this knowledge to the situation. And I feel the way he is with emotions and like responsibility, like taking responsibility for his emotions, is like the alien factor of him, like how great he is at delivering things the way he is. His acting with emotions makes him feel like the Doctor with like all of that greatness, but in a different way to previous Doctors.
I like also that he's one of the only Doctors that doesn't do sci-fi babble, science babble. Like he doesn't really, like he does the timey-wimey stuff, right? But he won't go, connect all the Ultron energy. Like he won't do that. I think that what I really like about Ncutis Doctor from the previous season is that he is confused. He can admit when he's wrong. Like sometimes he just doesn't understand anything. He can be scared. He can be excited about things. He doesn't have this like air of always like he's not a know-it-all, which is nice. It's a new way of it's a new Doctor. Like yeah, obviously, but like it's new. He does a science babble. He doesn't he's not that kind of character.
Can I do a little bit of speculation on his character moving forward?
Of course.
With all of this, I feel like actually in this episode they were pulling him back a little bit with the greatness of actually keeping his emotions in check. With this, how scary he is, and like the post-Time War Doctor, especially like Christopher Eccleston's Doctor, when he's like kind of emotionally repressed and like realizing how many people he has hurt. And I feel like we're kind of seeing this Doctor coming to terms with the fact that, okay, sure, we're like the emotionally healed Doctors from the 60th anniversary specials. I'm feeling maybe we're moving towards Doctor Who, where he's a bit more emotionally irresponsible.
I think it's a good prediction. I think also that I would really like that. Like, if it is that throughout the season we kind of see a creep back of some of the things that Ncuti lost, like a creep back of some of the alienness, a creep back of some of these heavier emotions from his past. I think that would be really interesting.
I have one thing about the direction I want to get in, because especially with how the frames are shot, we get introduced pretty early on to this angle where they take the camera and just tilt it tiny bit, and on my second watch I was really looking into it and like trying to find like where do they start this, and I feel like we get the first effect of what this is doing at the moment where Belinda is put into this throne, and it's like we see her straight on sometimes when she has to act and she feels uncomfortable, and then we get this slanted, tilted version whenever it's like, how does she feel about this? Like, this is all wrong. And it's like this hidden camera moment of like The Office when they look into the camera and it's like, seriously? And they do this every single time that something is a little bit off, and they also bring it back in for the first time with the Doctor. These every 9th words, they tilt the camera again like that was off, and they bring this back throughout the whole episode, also with the big unraveling scene, which like if I could just bottle that feeling, I would. It's just awesome. I don't care that I don't know anything about the war going on. I don't care about the fact that how did he become like an AI generator? How does that even work? And I feel like I was reading on the Wikipedia page about how RTD had like a problem. Like he ran into this problem, like how do I write AI into the episode, because he was trying to write this gimmick and then it didn't work out, and he's writing this other story, and now he's like, how do I get the AI stuff back into the plot with the owl? And it's like, it's a bit confused, but I really don't care about it because the plot hole is so irrelevant to to the flow of the episode. Like I don't really need to have every hole patched up for the episode for me to work, because we can feel the emotion.
I think the way they dance around the plot holes is kind of similar to how that gimmick makes you feel. Like when you're listening for the first time, you get cued in really quickly to this 9-word thing. They tell you really quickly that when it's flipped, when he's saying something out of place, pay attention to that, not all the other babble. The first time I watched, I have no idea what he said, no idea. Like psychologically, you tune it out immediately. And that's very, very clever. It is clever directing, it is clever, it's clever writing.
The acting around that was also great. This is another part of Ncuti being able to display the Doctor as like this smart outer-worldly being, where he changes the tone. Careful, and you can see when Belle is doing the same thing, we see her counting on her fingers, like putting it into perspective.
As a human, you need to be like,
She's seriously inferior in this situation, like adding to how scary he is.
I think also, like we were talking, not on the recording, but just about the episode after we watched it, that it feels so tactile. I think gimmicks like this not only shows the directorial prowess and the writing prowess of the team, it also gives the episode a distinct feeling. I think not only is the gimmick clever, it's also very memorable, and I can't explain it in any other way than that it's Doctor Who. Just because it's like, it makes you think, it makes you have to execute a task to keep attention. You can't just sit idly by and scroll on your phone, like if you want to appreciate the episode. And it reminds me of how previous big hits in Doctor Who, such as Blink, makes you, like, you kind of sit there and you try not to blink yourself. What was the other example that you gave?
Is it called Oxygen? The episode with Bill, where she is, where they have to go without a mask and they're on the spaceship where oxygen costs money. It reminds me of that episode a little bit, and also how they bring that over into Capaldi's storyline with, like, he's blind now. Like, we have to think about the fact that, oh, we have like a whole other sense we're missing.
Yeah, and I think that those are some of my favorite episodes from Bill's run, from Capaldi's run. I remember season 10 so well. And one of the things that Moffat does there, and one of the things that Russell T Davies has done here, is that he has told the audience to think, to engage with the episode in a very tactile way. I think it's really clever. I think it's a joy to watch. Like, it's so engaging, it's so fun, and it's one of those things with Doctor Who where the format is always the same, but the way the writers finesse all the compartments, the way the writers pull everything together with their skills is what's interesting to watch.
Something I want to go into about Series 10 that we were talking about is, if, like, when I think of Series 10, I think about these vivid colors and the theme. It's very not dissimilar to this episode, and I remember I really loved that season because of the color and set design, and that I really loved that about this episode. And I know Dirk Gently is this whole separate production, like it's kind of BBC, but like Douglas Adams being so tied to Doctor Who, Dirk Gently as a character originally originating from Doctor Who radio drama. There is parallels, but I really like the elements, especially like the first time when the time loop goes shroomp, when Belle is just screaming things in the rocket ship in her seat, and it's like, oh, bring Al in, but then it doesn't really make sense. It's just her displaying her character, but then we bring that element back in, and it's like from Dirk Gently with like everything is connected.
It's another one of those shows that really executes it well, planting seeds and then bringing them all together in a satisfying finale, and I think this episode does that effectively as well.
I had this moment, you know, when they touch with the certificates and he absorbs the time energy, and I was like, this is Rose Bad Wolf. And I just feel like the R2D DNA of this whole episode, and like the way he brings in elements from previous pieces of his run and subverts the plots in different ways. Like the last time this happened, the Doctor regenerated. This time he just got sucked into her timeline.
He also says that he closed the time schwump, which is, it just implies that the act of him absorbing it closed that schwump, which also presents another plot hole, because if he absorbed it, then like how did it even come to be? Where did it come from? Did it come from those things touching? Like it's just as you say, that this is a very R2D mechanic episode. Like just as Moffat has his isms, like when we talk, then I just on the phone, we talk about it as being Moffat isms. I think seeing R2D come back to the wheel, it kind of reminds you of what his central plot elements usually are and what he likes to write about. And I think it's really nostalgic and it's really fun. It makes us think about old Doctor Who that's really dear to us, but it's also in a fun new way. It doesn't feel trite, it doesn't feel too similar to things we've seen before. So I think the parallels are really appreciated without it feeling like he's just recycling old plot lines. He's changing them. He's adding new things. He's putting a spin on it. I think it's really clever.
It's kind of clever for bringing the show over to Disney. It definitely feels like we didn't abandon the previous show.
So before we end, we want to explore this incel concept a little bit, and we want to analyze like what are the themes of the episode, and is this even about incels? Because there is no, because there is no incel ideology here. The only thing we have is a creepy dude who doesn't listen to Belinda and is a bad partner and is very overbearing. But nothing about him is incel-y except for aesthetic nods, such as him being a gamer and him being a controlling person.
You know, on our first watch, I think we both had this unanimous introduction to Al, which was kind of like, he's a cute nerd. Like, he's just this cute nerd, and like we've seen so many times the cute nerd boyfriend turn into like this important character, and I feel like we're just kind of subverting that plot line.
And then the twist of having him being this really overbearing evil person who comes to this planet and his immediate thought is to conquer the whole thing and to scam his way into marrying the person who denied him the first time. Like, I think it shows, like, as a woman watching the show, like, I can recognize dating someone, thinking that they're just a cute nerd, and then sort of having this creeping sensation of, oh my god, this person doesn't respect me, this person wants things from me, wants me to not wear tight clothes, is controlling, da-da-da-da-da, or is really toxic in some way. And I think that's a really relatable experience. And I think the theme is not exactly incel coded at all. I think it's just them using a buzzword. I think what the theme actually is this sense of, as a woman, being abducted, being not taken seriously, and being part of somebody else's story, being part of somebody else's plot. And that happens not only with Al, it also happens with the Doctor. It's just Belinda being subjected to their narratives and being like, hold on, I'm a person too. I don't want to marry a robot, and I don't want to go on space travels. Like, I want to go home and I want to go to my shift. The way media is promoted these days is through controversy. It's through clickbaiting people on the right and pissing them off, clickbaiting incels and pissing them off. And that's not fun. Like, I don't like it. I think that they could have done without the, oh my god, it's Planet of the Incels line. At the same time, I don't find it offensive. Like, I find it kind of funny and kind of satirical. And I still think that the journey you're taken on through Belinda's eyes is...
I want an episode actually about incels now, because we were promised this episode.
We were teased. Yeah, because it's not about incels. It's really about putting yourself in Belinda's shoes and being taken on a complete non-consensual journey and being like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not interested in anything, in any of this, and I'm going to do my best to assert my autonomy to get out of this situation. I think it's a good exploration of gender relations, if a little bit clickbaity, and a little bit Disney. Like, Disney seems to really have this marketing strategy of just pissing people off and trying to be really politically woke and trying to cause a lot of discussion. And I think that can be really harmful for the actors involved and for the writers involved, because it makes the discourse around the media incredibly toxic. Like, the amount of stuff, the amount of political, nonsensical discourse you have to wade through talking about anything Doctor Who related or anything Disney related it's tiring, it's exhausting, and it's really harmful to the brand. So on the one hand, I think the line was unnecessary, and I think they should focus on marketing Doctor Who as a good show and not as a show that did an incel episode. You know what I mean?
When I was reflecting on this theme, this is like the bulk of my notes. I was like, what do I feel like the themes in this are? And I feel the incel part is more of one example of this overarching theme of just like identity and judging people on first impressions, which is really fitting for a first episode. Like, it's so great for them introducing a new character and like exploring their dynamic. Like, first impressions are so important. And I want to point out that actually Belle is also engaging this, like, projecting character on someone when she says doing nothing while the nurses do all the hard work. She actually engages in that herself, and I think that's a really rounded way to seeing it, because of course we do that to each other all the time, every day. Like, that's how we navigate the society we live in and like the world as people. I feel like this episode is a lot about like, do you have the right to someone else's personhood? When they have the certificates explode, when Ncuti is spit out and he says, we go way back, I feel like that was such a like people's parasocial relationship with other people. Like, I know everything about you, and like how we have with celebrities, like we're entitled to know everything about someone else's life, and really he becomes the fan of a celebrity almost, and how that is so non-consensual. And incel is just one aspect of that, I feel.
Yeah, I think that the episode really plays with the setup and reveal of like, this is who we thought this character was, and this is who this character really is. The thing is though, the way all the characters engage with each other is, just like you say, based on a false perception. Belinda falsely perceives the Doctor as a classic male domineering figure who doesn't listen to her and treats her like an inferior. And sometimes he actually does that, but sometimes he tries to engage with her as a real person. And in the same way, she dismisses Al as just a clingy nerd, and then he ends up being a lot more domineering and a lot more scary than he initially was. But at the same time, she then projects the incel label onto him. And I think that I think it's an important point that you bring up, that just as the male characters in the show project identities onto Belinda and want her to do certain things and want her to act in certain ways for their sake, she also engages in that sort of battle with her own projection. And it's not a helpful discussion from either perspective, because you're just talking in cultural terms instead of talking to the person. And so I think this interplay between the social role you occupy and the person actually behind it is also central to this episode. And I think it's incredible how deep it ends up being, like how fun it is to think about.
And the Doctor and Belle really quickly have a moment of reconciliation with the X-ray blankets. Like, I love how that actually is not just a, ooh, he has two hearts, like with Martha when she like puts up the stethoscope to the Doctor and he's like, shh, don't tell anyone I have two hearts. And she's like intrigued and like she's interested in this mystery. Like, in a very different way to how Belle is about this. She's more of a introduced to like the Doctor's alienness through a lens of actually we shouldn't be comparing each other, like who is more superior and what body is better. And we have that with also like in the same episode as we have cyborgs in, like we have this concept of her turning into cyborg, we have the concept of Al turning himself into a cyborg, and also is AI inherently better or worse than humans, and it becomes a point of reconciliation for the two of them, which is really cute, and like it actually builds a foundation for us, like this is not going to be a contentious partnership.
It seems like the themes that are played around with in this episode could have really been explored further, because just like you say, we don't only have the contrast between social roles and individuals, we also have the contrast between living beings and robots, and then we also have the contrast between Earthlings and aliens. And I think that there's so much going on here which is central, like it's themes that often get brought up in Doctor Who, but I think we did discuss earlier in the episode that we feel like this episode is more focused and more clean than maybe things that we felt were more rushed in the previous season. But there are still so many things in this episode that could have been explored further, and I think that Doctor Who is at its best when it's an entire movie in only 40 minutes, you know? That's what makes it fun to watch, and that's what makes it fun to be a fan, to think about and to discuss after every episode. Really has everything that I like in a Doctor Who episode. It has plot holes, it has confused theming, it has deep ideas at the same time, so it's super goofy, and that is what makes it fun to watch the show. That's what's fun to discuss, you know, it feels really alive.
This episode really made me think and just not stop thinking. I feel like they captured the modernness of sci-fi. I feel like sci-fi has been falling apart in like the past decade. Honestly, it's because of society like moving towards that reality the sci-fi used to occupy in the 90s. Like, we do have robots now we do have AI. Like, what is actually left in there to explore? And like, honestly, there's so much more, but it's been very stagnant, and I think this episode brings back the actual, like, this feels current and modern with the societal commentary. I really like that part. And it just feels relevant to us now. It makes sci-fi feel a bit more interactive and current. Like, this feels nice. I get the sci-fi feel of it all. And in the end, I feel like it's not up to the aesthetics of the set or the mechanics of the time travel. It's just that it has to feel relevant to us right now. And it really did that for me.
Exactly. Sci-fi is about telling human stories and human themes through the lens of a fantastical situation, you know, and that's when sci-fi is the best.
We have to make an episode all about that.
We do, because we've talked about that ad nauseum. Okay, so before we wrap up this episode, I think that we should talk a little bit about predictions for the rest of the season, hopes for the rest of the season, but also things that we hope will be resolved. So first of all, I noticed on my rewatch of this episode that we actually never it's actually never explained who tells the Doctor about Belinda. He just says that some guy told him, and we don't know who that is. So I'm hoping that we will get an explanation to who told him about Belinda, because it can't be somebody who knows about Mundy Flynn, because the Doctor figures out the Mundy Flynn connection in real time. He doesn't know it ahead of time, so we're excited about getting to know who that is. And then we obviously have this neighbor lady. Who the hell is she? She was in the last season and being weird. She breaks the fourth wall all the time. Well, it seems to be a mystery that they're gonna take seriously and that they're actually going to reveal in this season, so I have hopes for that. How about you? What are your hopes for the season?
I also want to point out the certificate. Like, we noticed they never resolved how the certificate got into Al's hands in the future, or future past time loop thing. And also this whole what is going on with May 24th, like, what is up with that? How did we get there? And how can we not come back to there? Did the planet explode? But I also feel like because we didn't resolve the time loop with the certificate, I'm having personal hopes that they're gonna go back and actually pick up Scoot, the little police guy, because I really want to get him in the TARDIS. I was scrolling through Reddit and I was like, ooh, other people love this character, and I downloaded the picture, and the picture said, get this guy in the TARDIS, and I was like, yes. That is exactly what I feel like, because he's just a little guy.
He needs to be the new K9. He needs to be a regular,
the new Mickey, the new
on
Tin.
the show. Definitely.
No, it's because it's so irrelevant, and I get he's like annoying and merchandisable and all of that, but I really like him, so that's like a personal hope of mine. But really, I feel like moving into this new type of emotion within Ncutis Doctor is really interesting. Like seeing him maybe start thinking about Gallifrey a little bit more, because he's been very disconcerted with that and being content in being the last of his race type of thing. I feel like maybe it's time to bring back the dark themes because it's worked so well in the past. It's not to criticize that direction that RTD took. And then I'm really hoping we're gonna be able to keep Belle through to the next season. That's like, please, please, please. Yeah.
No, I'm interested if they will put more focus on the Timeless Child stuff, because Russell T Davies made the bold choice to actually respect Chibnall's direction despite the controversy, and actually honor that.
To that idea.
Which is so sweet. Like, it's sweet that he was like, yeah, I take this seriously. This is canon for me, and I hope that we'll get some exploration of that, even though people don't like the Timeless Child. Like, obviously it's like universally hated in the fandom. I think it's sweet that Russell T Davies honored that and was like, this, I'm gonna keep going with this. Maybe something more about the Doctor being an orphan, some more lore. Like, I do like a fresh Doctor Who. I love a fresh Doctor Who. I'm starting to miss Gallifrey and Time Lords just a little bit. Like, it was overdone in the past, definitely. Like, we hate Moffat in this household, but having some more Gallifreyan stuff, having some more, the Doctor is a really complex character with a rich past stuff, I think could be interesting.
I had a lightning bolt moment. Hear me out. What if the Timeless Child was left by someone who might have gotten into this universe and keeps on breaking the fourth wall?
Ooh, wait a minute.
I feel like that could be really fun. In fact, that could be satisfying. If that turns out to be true, I called it. Okay.
Yeah, let's lock in that prediction.
Okay, maybe not. I'm gonna get... I feel like it's gonna come back to bite me in the ass if I lock that in. So.
Okay, well, I'll lock it in for you. It was a good prediction. I like it. Okay, so thank you for listening.
This has been chaotic.
This has been insane. I really don't envy Vendela, who has to edit this and try to make it somewhat comprehensible. We have filmed for 2 hours. Not sure how long it's going to be.
If you got through this far, I take that as a credit to me actually working something out. And I really hope that for the next podcast episode that it will be even better. And I feel like we're gonna have audio issues with this episode. The video, like, we're gonna be looking in the wrong directions the whole time, and we're gonna resolve that for the next episode now that we've been able to see ourselves in this.
Yeah, So bear with us. This is our first time filming, but we have been thinking about Doctor Who, discussing Doctor Who, for like, I would say, if we combine every single phone call we've had about the show, the runtime would be a year. So
thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening, and we will have a new episode when the new episode comes out. We're gonna try to post as tightly as possible after the releases. Leave a comment, subscribe.
Please give us input on anything you thought about, if this episode sparked the same amount of joy in you as it did in us.
The Doctor Who episode, not our podcast.
No. Sorry, the Doctor Who episode, of course.
Okay, that was a really messy outro. I think we'll edit it. It's gonna be edited together. It's gonna be great.
It could be awful. I have no idea.
We thought that this episode was so good that we had to start a podcast.
That's basically what happened.
I don't even think this is a very good episode. It's just like we just felt it was time.